listening to the home of cool, irreverent, and entertaining talk right here on LA Talk Radio. You're listening to The Art of Love with your host, Lucia, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to The Art of Love. My name is Lucia. I'm your host and a dating and relationship expert. And I'm here to entertain, educate, and enlighten you about love, dating, and relationships. Take your live calls, answer your emails, and speak to authors of books which I find interesting. And as usual, today, of course, I have another interesting author with another interesting book. But before I get to that part, I want to let you know that if you listen to my show on podcast, if you download it as a podcast on podomatic.com, I want to thank you for listening because I'm actually, as of today, in the top 1% of all the podcasts on that site, which is crazy because there are over 22,000 podcasts, and I'm in like the top 200, and I'm moving on up. So at some point, I'm going to have everyone go and listen to a podcast on a certain day, and if that happens, it's possible to get me to number one, just so I can say I did it, right? Just for the bragging rights. Okay, so again, thank you to all the listeners on Podomatic. So today we're going to talk about dogs and how actually they relate to dating and love and relationships, because, you know, people always say that men are dogs, which might be an insult to dogs because, you know, actually dogs are loving and loyal and obedient. And can we say that about men? Now I'm man bashing, right? Okay, let me bring my author on. It's Mandy Pratt with Why Men Are Like Dogs and How We Can Love Them. Hey, Mandy.
Hi, Lucia. Great to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being here. So Mandy is, can I call you a life coach?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just did. So Mandy has been coaching clients of all ages and backgrounds, personally and professionally, for more than 10 years, having coached over 10,000 hours. She works with both men and women on everything from overcoming depression, losing weight, finding love, starting their own business for their personal and financial goals. Of course, today we're going to talk about love. So how did you come to write this book about men and dogs?
Well, I first have to thank my clients. It was my clients that inspired me to write this book. I wanted to get the message out there because in coaching, I found myself repeating the same lesson over and over and over to women from all over. You know, one of the things I appreciate about your background is that, you know, you've been all over the world and we're really so much the same. Mm-hmm. And you know, it was my clients that I wanted to get this message out there, and when I came up with the idea of using the funny metaphor of men and dogs, I knew that it would be better received because, you know, people learn best from metaphors, and if we can splash some humor, i.e. comparing men to dogs, then it's going to definitely be better received that way.
Right, exactly. And so then, all right, so the obvious question is, what do you mean that men are like dogs?
Well, when I'm asked that, you know, Mandy, why did you write your book that? Why did you make it that title? Especially from the men. Sometimes I get a funny look from the men when I tell them my title of the book. And I would like to first emphasize this book is very pro-male. And just like you were sharing in the beginning, you know, I love dogs. And dogs are, like what you were saying, they're playful, they're lovable, they're protective. They're many of the qualities that we like our men to be. And, you know, when I was studying dog behavior, so when I wrote this book, I wanted to find out, you know, how similar are dogs to training a dog is to training a man. And it was spooky, the similarities between training a dog and to training a man. One of the things that one of my favorite lessons that I talk about in my book is the first one, Let Him Chase Me, is that when you have a dog that's loose and it's running away from you, one of the worst things that you can do that a dog trainer will tell you is to physically chase and run after that dog. It'll just keep. And so one of the best things that you can do is actually get the dog's attention first. So with the man, that means looking your best and presenting yourself, and then to turn around and to run the other way. So giving men the opportunity to woo you, to court you, to, i.e., chase you.
Right. I totally agree. Now, in every chapter of the book, you have the classy lady lesson. So what's your definition of a classy lady?
We are all classy ladies. A classy lady is a woman who respects herself. She honors her heart and her body and her mind and her time. She acts and talks and dresses in a way that exudes confidence, and she would be repelled by any man who treated her less than what she was worth.
And so you were telling me that you actually got some flack for using the word classy lady in the book?
I have. I actually received some, when I first came out with the book, I had a couple of feedback forms to my website of people going, well, what if we don't want to be classy ladies?
Wow.
And I thought, well, what else would you want to be? I take a lot of honor when someone calls me classy. I think it's one of the best compliments you could receive, because to me, it's the combination of being a beautiful woman who is also confident. Because anybody can be pretty.
Right.
Anybody can go and look good. But what's going on the inside? And to me, classy is the combination of not only the external beauty of taking care of yourself, but also the internal beauty of honoring your heart and your body.
Yeah, because if you think about it, the opposite of classy is obviously trashy.
Yes. Yeah, good point. You're right. Who
know,
wants to be trashy? I don't know any woman who would want to be referred to as trashy.
Unfortunately, I think there's a few that would take pride in that.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. All right. So now you also said that it's a woman's fault for the way that men behave, and that is, i.e., like wild dogs. So again, what do you mean by that?
Yes, I say, first off, Lucia, I say it's women's fault because I know that if I say that, I'm going to get a lot of ears to perk up, and I'm going to get your attention,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's like, wait a minute, who is this woman saying it's our fault that men are acting like wild dogs? So I first say that to get your attention because I have great news. I have the news and the message I want to share to women is that we have so much more power and so much more ability to better influence the men in our lives to treat us the way we want to be treated. And it's been my perception and my being in the coaching world and witnessing what's going on in the media and our culture today that women are being hypnotized to believe the opposite. Mm-hmm. We're forgetting our power. We're forgetting how much power that we really have to be able to better influence the men in our lives. We are teaching them how to treat us. So when I say it's our fault, I say that first to get our attention, and secondly, so that we can wake up and change our ways, because we really are the ones that can be more in the power seat.
You're right. You remind me of a quote. I don't know who said it, but it was something similar to women have the power of the species unless it's taken away by force or deceit.
Ooh, I like that quote too.
Yeah, and
it's very true.
And right now it's being taken away by deceit.
Yes.
Because the message men are giving is like, hey, you better sleep with me right away, or I don't want you, or I'm not going to be with you. And meanwhile, it's the opposite. It's like if they want you and you don't sleep with them right away, they'll stick around.
Yes, exactly. We've been lied to. That's the bottom line. We're constantly being lied to in our culture and our media. And the good news is it's not true. And that's why I call it the Classy Lady Revolution, is so that we can all, if we all band together and we remind ourselves of the truth. I mean, the great thing about us women is we like to talk. So if we start talking and having the classy lady conversation, then we're going to better influence each other, and then we're going to have men starting to treat us better.
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's like, okay, you know what? In the 50s and before, almost all men got married and they waited to have sex. It's like, so it's not like men all of a sudden changed. It's that women changed. Yes.
I'm really glad you bring that up because, I look back on, I don't know about you, but I love watching those old dated black and white movies because they were the men tipped their hats and they opened up the car doors and, stood up when you just had to go to the restroom at a restaurant. Yes, yes. And I would say the biggest difference between men back then who, they were gentlemen compared to so many men acting like wild dogs today is fear. They knew better. They knew that if they did not behave in a certain way, they were going to sleep alone. And I don't know any man who wants to sleep alone. And they were also socially rejected if they had not found a mate, found a lovely lady to have on his arm. Whereas today, it's the opposite.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like, all right, he's a stud. He's not married. He's dating 6 women at a time.
Yes. Yeah, reality TV shows with, half-naked women in a hot tub all vying for one man's attention. This is the message that we're sending them. It's like getting a new puppy dog and saying it's okay to do its business on the carpet. Well, then it's going to keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of the standing up, when the lady was going to the restroom, I was actually dating a guy, and he's like, well, if we're at a restaurant, I'm going to stand up when you stand up to go to the restroom. I'm like, don't you dare.
And see what a great opportunity to let him, have the opportunity to be a gentleman. And it's unfortunate, but it's outside our comfort zone to let a man open the door for us. Or like you said, don't you dare. That's good. That would make a scene, right? You'll be the only man in the restaurant that stands up.
All the other men would look and be like, what the hell's he doing? Sit down. You're making us look bad.
Exactly. But we have a revolution, Lucia, then we can get them to all join aboard.
I know. And the other thing, but one thing I did teach him, which I think most guys don't know, and here's a lesson for everyone. It's like, okay, if you're putting a lady into a taxi and you're also getting in with her, you put her in first, and then you walk around to the other side. You don't make her slide over.
Yes.
Right. And most guys, because I've never seen that, I trained him to do that, but most guys don't do that. It's like, move over.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I bet the men listening, if they didn't know that before, and they're in a relationship or they're wooing a woman that they're really into, the thing that I love about men is when we teach them how to treat us, and they want us to be happy. They love us when we're smiling and happy. They don't like it when we're mean or angry or sad. And so when we give them these cues on how to treat us, they do it.
Yes.
Because they want to be happy.
Right, if they care. And, I just realized just actually a couple of days ago, because I had always heard, and of course we all know by now, men want to make women happy. Men want to make women happy. And I was like, well, that seems a bit odd. It's like, what is in it for them? And then I was talking to someone, and he's like, well, if you're happy, then I feel like I made you happy, and so then I feel important.
Yes, they take credit. Let's let them have it. We can have them have it. That's fine.
I knew there was a self-serving reason why men are happy when women are happy. I knew it. I knew it wasn't a selfless reason.
Yes. You know what? And hey, I'll take it. How about you?
Exactly. Whatever works. Before I forget,
exactly.
Going back to the dog training, so did you actually work with dog trainers to do your studies?
I interviewed a couple of dog trainers where I really got the meat of my study. Is I recorded several dog training reality shows, and I watched hours of them, and it cracked me up how similar the dog trainer's advice was to my coaching advice to the female clients I was coaching on improving their relationships with men. And so I knew I had a winning metaphor to use this book, and yes, so I did most of my research through watching these dog training shows.
Are you talking about the Dog Whisperer?
That was one of them, and then the other one that was quite brilliant was It's Me or the Dog.
Oh, I've never seen that one.
Yeah, it's Victoria Stilwell, and she's got a beautiful British accent, and she had some great points. And I thought some of the things that she said, you could just replace dog with man, and it would work.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but yeah, I always watch The Dog Whisperer, even though I don't have a dog. And yeah, I find it interesting that he says that you need to be, the dog, and also you need to be calm and assertive.
Yes. And it really is about, because men are also, we women are known for being intuitive. Well, men also have instincts. And men can feel it when we're anxious or when we're desperate or when we're not happy. They sense it. They know. And so that's why it's so important for us women today to, better take care of ourselves. We're really good at now being independent and having careers and being ambitious. And one of the things that I find that women struggle with more today than they did before was simple self-care rituals on being able to relax. I mean, so many women today, we forgot how to relax. We forgot the importance of, let's say, taking a nice, bubble bath before a date. Women back in the 50s, the 30s, 40s, and 50s, before they went out on a date, it was a production to get ready before that date. They were not at work acting like men and then immediately rushing through traffic to meet the man on a date.
Right.
No. They were spending hours relaxing, bubble bath, playing music, usually getting ready with a sister or a girlfriend, really being in that wonderful feminine spirit before the date. So they showed up completely differently.
Yes, which is why women hate to be asked out at the last minute, because we actually need those several hours to get ourselves ready mentally and emotionally and physically.
Yes. And that's a good point for a message for men is, you really care about her and you want to woo her, give her some time, give her a heads up, give her that notice. Because you're gonna benefit from it.
Exactly.
She's going to have more to offer you.
Exactly. Okay, so let's go over some of the classy lessons. So you said action, not words. What do you mean by that?
Action, not words. I don't know if you've ever met a man that loves it when we want to have a lengthy, emotional conversation. I don't know about you, Lucia, but anytime I've had a lengthy, emotional conversation with a man, it never went the way that I really wanted it to go. And what I've learned about men is men are so simple. It's wonderful. Once we get this and own it, men are so simple. They don't respond to lengthy conversations. And I use the same metaphor comparing men with dogs. If you think about it, common sense. If you get a new puppy and it starts doing its business on the carpet, are you going to actually sit down with a cappuccino and talk to the dog about how much you love your carpet? It's you know that's not going to work. And no, you immediately change the behavior of the dog by putting the dog outside and letting the dog know immediate pain. You don't do your business on the carpet. I take you outside, and then eventually the dog gets it. Well, men are the same way in that so many women today, we love to talk. We're communicators. And one of the mistakes that I've experienced in my own dating life as well as witnessed in my clients and my friends is that we tend to over-talk. And it can hurt us when we really want to get a great message across to the man that we're dating or seeing. And what I found is that works better with men is behavior, is action, just like in training a dog. Absence, giving that man the space. So making the request. If the man, for example, we talk about wanting notice and going out on a date, well, rather going into a long story about how, Bob used to give you such short notice and how that made you feel and blah, 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 instead to say, you know what, I need you to give me 48 hours before you ask me out. And bottom line it very short. And when he doesn't follow through with it, you teach him by silence, by your absence. You don't teach him by lengthy emotional conversations. He's not going to respond that way. You may feel better in the moment because it always feels good to vent.
Yes.
You may feel better in that moment to vent and to point your finger and to be upset. But in the long run, it only hurts you in your relationship because he's not going to be responsive of venting.
So less venting, more acting.
More acting, behavior. Bottom line, your request. Think about, what do I really want, and make it like a game. Okay, what do I want him to change, or what's the behavior that I'd like to see differently, and how can I put this in one sentence or less? And then once you communicate that, follow it up by your behavior. If he doesn't follow through, give him the pain of your absence, because then he'll miss you and he'll realize, oh, if I want to ask her out, if I want to go out with this woman, I have to give her 48-hour notice.
Okay, so let's look at some other examples. And so what would a person do in this situation? So let's say a guy is always late. What would be the action and not the words?
Well, first off, you definitely want to have a conversation, but again, you want to be logical, not emotional about it. Men respond better when we come across more logical. Mm-hmm. So if a man is habitually late on a date, I would first sit down and have a conversation, say, this doesn't work for me. I don't feel respected. I need you to be on time for our next date. And so the request first needs to be clear. Mm-hmm. So passive-aggressive behavior, that doesn't work. So we make the request and make it clear, and we let them know up front that there will be consequences. If you're late next time, I'm not going to go out on another date. There needs to be very specific consequences, mm-hmm. and for him to know. And what we women need to get better at is to follow through on those consequences.
Yes, absolutely. So let's say he was coming over to hang out at your place, and he's late. So what do? You open the door. You're like, sorry, you're late. Get out of here.
Well, every situation's different. It depends on the man, depends on the woman. But what I would say is a general rule: if she's already had the conversation, if you've already had the conversation before and he's late, then I'd probably go out. I'd let him know, you know what, you're late. I'm sorry. I'm going to miss you tonight, but I'm going to go catch a movie with my sister, or I've already made plans.
Right. Exactly.
See, the thing is so many women today are afraid to give pain.
Yes.
And, I've learned this as a coach, that the best way that we learn sometimes in changing behavior mm-hmm. is we have to have a little bit of that pain. And today, men, there's no consequences. It's free casual sex, this and that hookup culture, that there's no consequences. No wonder they're not asking us to get married. No wonder there's not as much of that long-term commitment. There needs to be a little bit of that pain. And the good news is we can do it still in a very classy way. We don't need to be mean. We don't need to be rude. We don't need to be passive-aggressive. We could still do it and be very classy.
And that just reminded me of another quote.
Yes.
I'm into quotes.
I love quotes.
Yes. It goes something like this. It goes, you bind someone to you a lot more deeply through pain rather than through being nice. I'm just paraphrasing. That didn't sound very good. But
yeah,
by causing them pain rather than by being sweet.
Yes.
Which is the opposite of what women think. They're like, oh, well, I'll just be nice and sweet, and then he'll behave. It's like, no. Cause him pain.
Yes, and it's the healthy kind of pain.
Obviously.
It's the boundary pain, and we still can smile and be sweet and have that personality, but it's again, it goes back to, it's not about your words, it's all about behavior.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next scenario would be, let's say a guy continually says he's going to call and then he doesn't follow through.
He says that he's going to call and he doesn't follow through.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same response. If that's a pattern and you're dating him and you're in a serious relationship, if you're in a serious relationship and he's not keeping his word, then I would have a conversation. And again, I would have it be, if he doesn't follow through on that, he's going to have the pain of your absence. Mm-hmm. Your absence is one of the best leverages you have, because again, words aren't enough. I read an interview years ago with Dolly Parton, and the interviewer asked, how did she, what's her secret to a happy marriage after all these years, being in the limelight? And she said in her sweet Dolly Parton voice, well, whenever my husband gets a little bit complacent of me, I just simply pack my bags, I leave for the weekend with the girls, and I come back, and he missed me. Mm-hmm. And, having just a little bit of that absence really can teach him. Now, just like that book, he's not that into you. If he doesn't come back after you give him that absence, then let him go. There's another man that won't do that to you.
Right, exactly. Okay, and then what about one more scenario? What about a guy who continuously talks about other women, how gorgeous they are, he met this woman, he met that woman, and you don't want to hear it, so what do you do?
Oh, well, again, I would first make the verbal request. I mean, my first response is find a new guy. There's men that won't do that. But if you're really into this guy, if you really like this guy, then I would say, again, I'd first make the request. Here's all men need to hear, because, again, like we talked about, men want us to be happy. If he's into you, if he likes you, if he cares about you, he wants you to be happy. So if you say, when you talk so much about other women and how beautiful they are and how you'd like this one and that one, it makes me unhappy. Boom, you hit a nerve. And the next time he does it, if he does it again and you're really into him, you give him that absence.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I requested that you wouldn't do this again. I need to be alone now. And see how he responds. If the behavior doesn't change, then there's definitely a man that won't do that you can find.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so moving on to another classy lesson. So you already mentioned about the absence grows love. You also said, okay, direct commands, no drama, no discussion.
Yes. I actually learned this from when I speak about my clients in my book. Of course, I change their name, to protect their privacy.
Mm-hmm.
But I got this lesson from one of my clients because she was having, it seemed about every 10 to 12 days she was getting into an argument with her husband. And the way she described it to me is, again, she would go into the emotional, lengthy conversations with him about how he would either hurt her feelings or did something that made her upset. And we decided to test out the direct commands of making her request instead of waiting until she got emotional, that right when he did something that upset her, for her to communicate it immediately. One of the things that we women have also been taught is to repress it.
Right.
When we need to speak up right then in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And she had an opportunity. I call her Sarah in the book. And she had an opportunity to talk to her husband. They had a big birthday party over at his house, and he invited about 6, 7 of his guy friends over the next day for football. And we women know that, okay, if we're not ready for another gathering the next day, we may not be too happy about being a host again.
Uh-huh.
And she pulled him aside at his birthday party and said, you know what, when you did this, it really makes me unhappy because I wasn't planning on hosting all your friends. And she made that simple request, and so he changed it to be at another friend's house, and that was it. There was no emotional drama. There was no more passive-aggressive behavior, and so she learned that, men really are that simple. I just need to make that simple and direct request.
I think what's difficult is getting what you want succinctly into one sentence.
It's like a game. I look at it like a game because I know it's so much easier said than done. And this is where, I share with my clients, vent to your girlfriends. We love to vent. In fact, it's been proven, you may already know this, that when we talk about our problems, we actually create endorphins when we vent. That's like we love to talk.
Yes.
But men are the opposite. Men actually get depressed when they talk about their problems. That's why they want to just go shoot some hoops or go play poker and not focus on the problem. Because if they talk about the problem, they get depressed. It's a completely different way of handling stress and handling problems and challenges. And so for us women, if we vent to our girlfriends and then we make it like a game with our men, and we think, okay, how can I communicate to him in the most logical, concise way this request? We're going to get so much more of what we want.
Right. Totally agreed. Next one is feeding him is loving him.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
This one, Lucia, this was, I share a little bit about it in the book how, I've never been a fan of cooking.
Me too.
I grew up when we go out to dinner a lot, and I just, Mandy in the kitchen, it just never seemed to flow.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to ask the men in my life and started to interview men about that cliche that a way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I'm sure you've heard that.
Of course.
Yeah. And I started doing some research, and when it comes to dogs, the owner of the dog is going to bond with whoever feeds the dog.
Wow.
And so, like, in the dog training show, It's Me or the Dog, it's usually a couple where the dog is more attached to one of the owners. And one of her advice is for the one that, if the husband's not, let's say, attached to the dog, she has the husband start feeding the dog. So then the dog's going to start bonding with the husband. And then I started doing my own research and saying, I wonder how true it is for men, that how important it is for us to feed them. And I was really surprised to learn how important it is for a man to be fed by his woman and how good he feels. So many men have said, when she feeds me, I feel like she really cares about me. And single men that want to get married and want to start a family, they also look at that as a positive trait in the future mother of their children. It's like, okay, if she can't cook, how is she going to be healthy in the pregnancy? How is she going to nurture herself? How is she going to, feed our children? And so they think about this. And women today, it hasn't necessarily been a focus because, we can go out to eat, we're independent, and but the truth is we can do wonders with the men in our lives if we just learn a few simple meals in the kitchen and what that does for them. They really feel cared for and nurtured. It's a great gift that we can give the men in our lives.
Wow. And it doesn't always have to be something that we cook, as long as we just put something together and feed them rather than have them take us out?
Yeah, and you can mix it up, and he can cook sometimes too, and I'm a big fan of having the teamwork. If you cook, he does the dishes, or if he cooks, you do the dishes.
Right.
It's more about today learning some of the old school ways that really did work and how to take care of a man. And men love food. And a great way is to learn some of his favorite meals. He's going to feel loved. If your favorite flowers are tulips and he brings them home, every now and then and surprises you, you're going to feel loved and cared for. If his favorite meal is lasagna and you make it for him every now and then, he's going to feel loved and cared for. It's that simple.
Or you buy it and heat it up.
Or you buy it and heat it up. You can cheat, Lucia. It's all about feeding them. You don't have to be a perfect chef.
I am not making lasagna, sorry, even though I'm Italian. Okay, the next one is keep the mystery.
Yes.
How do we do that?
This is so important to be reminded of because, with all these reality shows today and with pretty much everyone on Facebook and Twittering what they're about, it just seems that very little is sacred anymore in our culture. And it's so important to keep things sacred. And one of the things that I've interviewed and learned from men is men find it very attractive when we women have our self-care rituals, when we take care of ourselves, when we do some of the things that men don't do that they really don't understand. And what I found interesting is that women tend to do these self-care rituals, simple things like going out and dancing with your girlfriends or getting manicures and pedicures and bubble baths in the middle of the day when we're single. But they tend to drop them when they get into a relationship, and it's one of the worst things that you can do for a relationship because just like I don't know what woman would want an unemployed man. We want a man that has a job, that has a career, that has a mission. Well, men love it when women already have in place self-care rituals of better taking care of themselves, and that provides more of that mystery to men of, wow, why does she want to go, spend 3 hours with girlfriends going shopping and the manicure? I don't understand that.
Right.
But they appreciate it. They're attracted to it. It intrigues them. And so it's important that we continue those rituals when we are in a relationship.
Right, like when they hear that it took us 2 hours to get ready, they're like, what the hell did she do for 2 hours?
Exactly. And again, men want us to be happy. They want a happy lady on their hand, on their arm. And how do we make sure that we're happy? We got to take care of ourselves.
Okay, and then another classy lesson is giving him warmth. What does that mean besides giving him a coat?
Yeah, I like how you say that. Giving him warmth is so many women today are taught to act like men. And in order to be successful and have more of an edge to them than they did before. Again, we go back to those old, wonderful black and white dated movies, and the women were women. They smiled, and they had a warmth and a nurturing about them, and men find that so attractive. Men don't want to date another man. They want to date a woman. And so part of that warmth is being vulnerable and being loving. A great example of this, one of my favorite movies. Have you ever seen the movie The Family Man with Nicolas Cage?
No, not yet.
Oh, put that down on your movie list.
Okay.
It's a great example of the power a woman can have is giving a man warmth. I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version of what the movie's about. Nicolas Cage plays a man that is extremely successful, lives in New York City, the most masculine city on the planet, has gorgeous women giving him, no strings attached sex and relationships, a fast car, everything you'd think a man would want as far as lifestyle, success, power, and fame. And he gets a glimpse, kind of like it is a Christmas movie. He gets a glimpse of what it would be like to be married to his college sweetheart. And what happens in the movie is you witness what the warmth of a woman who can capture your heart can do to a man. And I won't give away the ending, but I will tell you that it's more powerful than any amount of money and success. And how do we do that? We do that by being ladies and not trying to be the man in the relationship, and by being vulnerable and letting him lead.
What does being vulnerable look like? Because I think a lot of women don't know how to do that. Yes.
Being vulnerable means being honest. Being honest about what it is that you're looking for, what is it that you want. I coach several single women on dating, and one of my very first questions I ask them, if they're telling me and they're gushing about a new guy that they met and they're so excited about him, one of the first questions I ask her is, what does he want? Have you asked him what he wants? What's he looking for? And, it's been proven over and over again. People tell you who they are when they first meet you.
Yes.
And, being vulnerable, what that can look like in the beginning is saying, you know what, I want what every woman wants. I want to be swept off my feet. And so if you meet a man and you're going out on the first date and you ask him what he wants, and he says, I'm just having fun, I would turn and run the other way.
Right.
I'm not looking for anything serious. He's probably being open and honest with you. And so you don't need to say, oh, my gosh, I want to get married in 6 months and I want to start having babies in 12. You don't need to swing the pendulum. But what you can say is, I'm looking for what every woman wants. I want to be swept off my feet. And either he's going to be attracted to that because he's looking for the same thing, he's looking for a real woman, which most men are, or he's not ready and you're going to pass early.
Right.
And so being vulnerable is being honest. Being vulnerable is letting him know when you hurt his feeling, when he hurts your feelings, letting him know that you don't feel respected when he's late, letting him know that. Again, not having to go into an emotional conversation or not going the passive-aggressive route, but instead being very direct and clear with your request of what you need as far as your emotions.
All right. Well, thank you for that wonderful explanation. So then moving on to the relaxed and happy chapter.
Yes, don't you love that one?
Relaxed and happy. To quote, you said, ladies, the best gift you can give your man is to focus on what you need to do consistently, consistently increase the level. Okay, you know what? For some reason, I'm not reading, you know what I mean? I'm not reading this right. Anyways, the woman needs to focus on herself.
Yes, to be consistently being relaxed and happy. What was interesting, Lucia, in talking to men is I kept asking them, what do you find most attractive in women? And happy just kept coming up, and then relaxed. And notice with the dog whisperer, calm and assertive.
Yes.
Calm. But calm. Men are so attracted to women who are relaxed and happy. And if you are, if you're in a career that's stressful, that has a lot of demands, that's going to wear on you and that's going to affect your relationship. And that's why it's so important. It sounds like a luxury, but in today's age, I say, getting massages, getting facials, doing things, anything that will relax you, taking a break and reading a good book, for 20, 30 minutes here and there, anything that will relax your mind, relax your body, you're going to be so much more attractive to your man. It can make more of a difference if you wear the same dress that he's seen half a dozen times, but if you took, let's say, a nap that day because you didn't get a good night's rest, you're going to be so much more attractive to him than if you rush to the mall or your favorite store and you spend a couple $100 and you go through that stress and you look physically great in your new dress, but you're stressed out and you're tired. It is almost impossible to be sexy and attractive when we're tired, and that's why it's so important to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, the most attractive thing you can wear is your attitude.
Yes, exactly. Men love a smiling, laughing, happy woman.
Yeah, who doesn't? Okay,
Yeah.
moving along quickly because we only have 10 minutes. I want to make sure I get all the key points in.
This has been fun.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's such a great book. Again, Why Men Are Like Dogs, and of course the website is whymenarelikedogs.com. You said to keep him leash free. So what does that look like?
Oh, this is so important. I'm glad you bring this one up, is keep him leash free. Men want and love freedom. Freedom. We women, we love security. That's why when we're little girls, we fantasize about getting married and commitment. We love it. And so since men love freedom, it's so important that we're in a relationship with the man, that we let him lead and we let him be the man. And being leash-free, what does that look like today? Well, if he's going to go out and be with the guys, let's say he's got poker night or if he's got, something that he's doing with his buddies or his family, is to not constantly, let's say, text him. What are you doing? How you doing? And constantly not giving him that space that he needs when he's away from you. Give him, again, going back to absence. Leash free is a lot about giving him that space. Mm-hmm. Not constantly texting him, not emailing him all the time. Giving him that space where he knows he's free and he's fortunate to be with you. And because you are a classy lady and you know it, he's not going to want to mess that up. So, of course, he's going to treat you with respect, and, of course, he's going to be there for you. And so it's having faith and trust in him that he is going to be your man, he's not going anywhere, and to give him the space when he needs to go out.
Right. And if he is going to go somewhere and do something, I mean, the truth always comes out eventually anyways.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Good point.
Yeah, so no need to stress. Okay, so let's talk about sex briefly.
Yeah.
So why is casual sex so harmful to women?
Oh, first off, there's no such thing as casual sex for women.
Right.
Sex is not casual for women. Sex is so different for women than it is for men. It's been scientifically proven that there is a bonding chemical that is released in our brain called oxytocin when we have sex with a man. My sisters and I, we used to joke. We used to call it the Guga Gaga juice. That we could like a guy. We could be dating him. We could take him or leave him. But if we sleep with them, we know we're going to have the Guga Gaga juice. We're going to be Guga Gaga about him. And that's our funny way of basically talking about this powerful. Oxytocin is a very powerful chemical. It's the same chemical that's released in women when we have children. And this is a good thing. This is Mother Nature's way of keeping us with the same man. Otherwise, we'd be like men, and that would just be chaos.
Yeah.
So this is a beautiful thing that's been given by Mother Nature. It's just important for us to understand the wisdom behind it. When we sleep with men, it affects us emotionally, whether we like it or not. No matter how independent we are, matter how much money we have in the bank, no matter what size, pants that we can wear, no matter what we do to ourselves physically. Casual sex, there's nothing casual about sex for women. It's very harmful for our hearts, and it's just so worth it to wait. It's just so worth it to wait.
Yeah, because you said a great thing, which was that men who are not willing to get to know a woman in the beginning will never be willing to commit later in a relationship.
Absolutely. You're passing early. You're passing early on pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he's not willing to wait, if he's not willing to get to know you and wait for the sex, then what makes you think he's going to want to get to know you if you have sex right away?
Yeah. He's not.
He's not.
He's not. You are getting that much closer to meeting the type of man that you want to be with. And to say something to the women out there that really just love sex, I've coached several clients of women that go, Mandy, you're telling me to wait. What if I don't want to wait? I like to have sex just as much as a man does. And I've talked to some of those women, and what I share with them is this truth, is that married women, it's been proven, married women and women that are in committed relationships have far better and more sex than single women. And so not only is it worth it to wait emotionally for your hearts, hey, you're going to have much better sex once you meet your man and more of it.
Yeah, it's just a matter of foregoing the short-term satisfaction and waiting for the long-term gain. You
know what, Lucia? That's so much of what I learned in studying men is that what you just said right there. Which pain do you want to feel? Do you want to feel the short-term pain of biting your tongue and not emotionally venting to your guy, or the long-term pain of possibly ruining your relationship and losing this wonderful man? It's which pain do you want to feel? It's like, it's painful sometimes not to vent to your guy because it feels good in that moment to vent.
Right.
And it feels good to have that night of passion. But which pain do you want to feel? Do you want to feel the pain of, I'm going to hold out, and this isn't fun, it's a little bit painful, for the long-term pleasure of having a committed relationship?
Exactly. So you use the term wild dog several times in the book. Do you think that a wild dog can change his ways and become a good boy?
Yes, here's what I've discovered. Yes, they can, and I hesitate sometimes, Lucia, to say that to women because don't we love to change men or think that we can? It's like, a project.
Yes.
So I hesitate to say that yes, a wild dog can change because the truth is, I want life to be his teacher, not you.
Right.
And so if he is a wild dog, let life be his teacher. Let life beat him up and have him change his ways. And when he's ready, he won't be a wild dog. He's going to step up and he's going to want to claim you to be his lady. One example of a wild dog turning to be a good boy is Warren Beatty. He was very much a wild dog, and what a classy lady did he meet, Annette Bening.
Right.
If you watch his interviews, listen to his interviews, are really fascinating with their marriage. Is he said he knew. He said that he knew if he continued along his ways, he would lose this wonderful woman that he fell in love with. And so he knew he had the pain. I'm either going to be able to be with this woman and have a wonderful life, or I got to keep my ways of being a wild dog.
Right. Good. He finally changed. And finally, the last question. So for the women listening who they are tired of dating the wild dogs, what do you think is the first thing that they should do?
First thing is take inventory. So I would say 3 quick things. First thing, look at yourself, look at your life. Great thing about being single, we have more time. Yes. So do you need to get into shape? Do you need to focus on your health? Do you need to be like me and put some time in the kitchen and learn how to cook a few meals? Are you in debt? Do you need to work on your financial health? So I'd say the first tip is to focus on you and what you need to do to better be more attractive to the type of man that you want to end up with. The second thing is I would say is to increase your relationship IQ. The more you learn about yourself as a woman, the more you learn about men. Listen to podcast shows like yours every Sunday. The more that we increase our relationship IQ, the better we are going to be at communicating when we finally meet that lucky guy. And then the third tip I have would be your environment. So if you have the first 2 things down and you're still not meeting him, I would say change your environment. Look at where you're going. Who are you rubbing elbows with on a consistent basis? I had a client who lived in a bad part of Philadelphia, and she worked really hard on trying to find her ideal man. Well, you know what? We ended up just having her move.
Wow.
She moved from Philly to New York City. She worked on herself. She's gorgeous, financially stable. She had great catch of a woman, read so many books on relationships, been to seminars, and when she went to New York City, she was like, this is so refreshing. I can finally meet the type of man that I want to be with. So part of it, too, is your environment. If you have the first 2 down, I would look at, where are you living and who are you spending your time with. That's so important. I believe less of us would be online dating. No, there's nothing wrong with online dating. I've had several clients meet people that way. And I know that we would speed up the process and have a lot more fun than sitting home in your PJs online. It's just going out and being with the type of caliber of people that you want to end up with.
Wonderful. Well, Mandy, it's been great. I'm sure we've all learned a lot. So your website is whymenarelikedogs.com. And what goes on that website? Because I see there's a lot going on there.
Yes. Check it out. I've got my blog. I've got the Classy Lady Conversation newsletter, and I'd love to hear from you.
And you also have the book available on CD, which is always good. If someone's busy and they don't want to read and sit down and read, they can just listen to it.
Yes, with iPods and smartphones today, it's nice to have that audio and be able to multitask. You bet.
I know. Who has time to sit down and read anymore?
Exactly.
So that's great. Well, thank you so much for being on. It was great.
Oh, I had a blast, Lucia. Thank you again for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay, take care.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, there she goes. That's Mandy Pratt. That's a nice, easy name to remember, Mandy Pratt. Why men are like dogs and how we can love them. So I am going to get out of here, of course, also, but not before I remind you that, of course, I have a website, theartoflove.net, where you can sign up for my free weekly newsletter and look at some videos and read my previous columns. I have a weekly column and all kinds of other things going on there. It's updated regularly, so check it out. Of course, I have my book, Lucia's Lessons of Love, at lessonsoflove.net, and actually that's getting revamped. So it's going to have a whole new look pretty soon. New year, new look. And that is it. Thank you so much for joining me today. And in the meantime, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.
You're listening to The Art of Love with your host, Lucia, right here on LA Talk Radio.